6 myths about dating debunked. Transform your love life after 50. This is Sandy Weiner. I am excited to have you join for today's webinar. Before we get started, I have a few quick things. I want you to reduce distractions around you and do stay on for the full hour because it's jam-packed and there's stuff that's going to happen at the very end. It's going to be interactive and fun. There's going to be Q&A at the very end, so stay on. Please chat when I ask you to chat, and I will let you know where you can get some more info, and there's a special offer for those who stay on until the very end. Okay, so which describes you best? And I want you to put the answer in the chat. I don't even know how to get started with dating. So this is for people who are just starting after a breakup, a divorce. Maybe you haven't been dating for a long time, or you're dating for a while, you're afraid you'll get hurt again and you don't really know what to do. You're a little afraid of getting out there. I don't know how to find compatible people, compatible dates, or I'm burnt out from dating apps. So I see a few people are starting to write in the chat, 1, 2, 3, or 4, or a combination. Kelly's afraid to get hurt again. Lori's 3 and 4. Whether you're navigating the dating scene for the first time after a breakup, or you've been on this journey for a while, you are in the right place. Today, we're going to tackle 6 of the biggest dating myths that might be holding you back from finding the lasting, epic love that you desire and deserve. And before we get started, I also realized that some men have signed up for the webinar. And so I do work with some men privately, but I will be speaking today to women who are dating men. So if you're a man and you're listening to this, feel free to substitute woman for man if you're a guy. I know many of you might be feeling frustrated or even a little disillusioned with dating. Maybe you've been on too many first dates that go nowhere, or you keep attracting the wrong kinds of men. But here's the thing. Those challenges are often rooted in outdated beliefs about dating. So let's bust those myths wide open, shall we? Here's what we're going to be learning today. 6 myths that are keeping you from love. We're going to learn the secrets to transforming your love life, especially if you're over 50. I'm going to share a few true stories of people I've helped who are over 50 and found their last first date. Very exciting. And I'm going to share a chance to go deeper with me if you really want to find lasting love and you're really serious about it. So give me a thumbs up or a yes if you're ready to hear the 6 myths that are keeping you single. Myth number 1, dating is a numbers game. We've all heard this, right? Dating is just a numbers game. The more people you date, the better your chances of finding the one. But I'm here to tell you that treating dating like a numbers game is only going to lead to burnout. When you're always trying to give too many people a chance and you're dating so many people, you're spreading your energy too thin. And let's face it, if you're not showing up as your best self, your dates can feel it. Here's the problem with the numbers game. Imagine you're on your 3rd date of the week. You're exhausted. Your mind is already on your to-do list. Your heart just isn't in it. How can you possibly connect with somebody in a meaningful way? Dating has become routine, almost robotic, and that's not what dating should be about. I mean, we've all been there where, you're going on a date and you're like, oh, God, I'd rather be home doing my laundry or maybe watching Netflix. So what do? What's the solution? Date with intention. Instead of playing the numbers game, I want you to try something different. Dating with intention. This is all about quality over quantity. It's about being intentional with your time and your energy because we only have a limited amount of time and energy. Focusing on truly getting to know 1 or 2 people before moving on to the next. This approach not only saves your energy, but it also increases the likelihood that you'll find somebody who really clicks with you. You'll start to notice things you might have missed if you were rushing through the process. Imagine this. Picture yourself going on a date when you're fully present, you're engaged, you're truly interested in the person who's sitting across from you. You're not thinking about your next date or whether you're going to hit it off with anybody, with somebody else, or even with this person, but you're focused really on the connection right in front of you. That's the power of dating with intention. And trust me, the results can be magical. It's really just you enjoy every date even more, even if it's not going to be the right fit because you're dating with intention. Let's go to myth number 2. First date sparks are a must. How many times have you gone on a first date and because there were not instant sparks, instant fireworks, you said, no, not a good match? We have been conditioned to believe that if there's not an immediate spark, it is not worth pursuing. But here's the reality. Those instant sparks are often just a chemical reaction and not an indication of true compatibility. Here's the problem. When you prioritize chemistry over compatibility, you will find yourself on an emotional roller coaster. Sure, the highs are really exhilarating, but those quick flames often burn out just as fast, and they leave you feeling disappointed or even heartbroken. So, what do we do instead? The solution is to slow down, slow and steady. I call this slow dating. Instead of chasing that instant chemistry, I encourage you to take a slow and steady approach. If you had a good time on a first date, even if you didn't feel that romantic connection, consider giving it another shot. Romantic love often develops gradually. In fact, studies show that 54% of singles have fallen in love with someone they were not initially attracted to. What matters more than an immediate spark is whether there is a true connection, mutual respect, and shared values. So, your action plan is after your next first date, instead of asking yourself, did I feel sparks? Ask yourself, did I enjoy the conversation? Did I have fun? Did I feel some connection? Do we share some similar values? If the answer is yes, give it another date. You might be surprised about how attraction can grow over time. And when I work with people, we actually have a whole list of questions that we debrief dating with. Because most of us ask ourselves, what do we feel? Like, do we feel a connection? Do we feel sparks? And if we don't feel them, we're ready to call it quits. So let me know in the comments if you have done that. Like, well, I didn't feel it, so I called it quits. Or maybe you gave the person too many chances. And we do that too, because we think that the attraction will grow over time. And that also doesn't happen unless there is the true connection. I want you to meet Kara. Kara is a client of mine who was never attracted to anyone. She called me like crying that her therapist had told her that she was probably asexual and she would never be attracted to anyone. And I said, no, I don't think that's your problem. Let's get to know you a little better. And as I got to know her, I found out that there was a lot of pain from her past. She had a really horrible divorce. And she only had been wired for the attraction to men who were really not good for her. So this guy with her, CJ, you can see there's an engagement ring on her finger. She met CJ and she was like one and done. I am never dating him again. I don't feel sparks. We debriefed the date and she's like, okay, I'll go on another date. And by the third date, he was coming on pretty strong. He wanted to like hold her hand and she was like, the audacity to hold my hand. I barely know this guy. He thinks he's my boyfriend. Anyway, I had to talk her down from the ledge several times, but she started to get to know him. And I think by date 6, she started to fall in love with him. Now, she would not have dated him more than once had she not done this work. And had she not given him a chance for the right reasons. They're getting married next month. And I am so excited because I am officiating their wedding in Florida. I became a wedding officiant for Kara because I had seen her go from zero attraction to falling in love. They've been living together for, I don't know, this past 6, 7 months. He has such an incredible relationship with her children. It is an amazing, amazing relationship that never would have happened had she relied on first date sparks. So, Lynette, thank you for the congratulations. Yes, this is why I love doing this work. All right, you ready for myth number 3? Men take longer to fall in love. Did you know this was a myth? I love this one. This is one of the most pervasive and misunderstood. We often hear that men are slower to fall in love, and as a result, many women hold back their emotions. They wait for men to catch up. But according to sex and relationship coach Jordan Gray, men actually tend to fall in love faster at the beginning of a relationship, just like Karen CJ. This guy was so completely in love with her, and she had to catch up to him. So the myth persists because men are often socialized to hide their emotions, and that leads to misconceptions that they are not as invested in the woman. Is that surprising to you? I know that when I heard that, I was like, wow, I never realized that. So here's the problem. Men and women's brains function differently, which means they often express emotions differently, and this can lead to misunderstandings. It's one of the things that I love to teach, and I teach this in my programs and in my private coaching. I teach women how to understand men, and I teach men how to understand women because we don't have the same brains. We are women, men are not hairy women. They don't function exactly the same ways we do. And often so much of communication issues happen because we misunderstand each other. So just because a man isn't verbally expressing his feelings, it doesn't mean that he isn't falling for you. In fact, men can feel very deeply, but they might not always show it in the ways that we expect. And so what's the solution? We need to foster a safe zone for vulnerability. If you want to deepen your connection and create a safe space for emotions to be shared, start by being vulnerable yourself. This is a hard thing for most of us. We were not conditioned to be vulnerable. And we also often misunderstand what vulnerability really is. Like we think being vulnerable is sharing about all of our childhood wounds really quickly, by telling people about our eating disorder or our parents' dysfunction and things like that. That's not what vulnerability is early on. It's about sharing your feelings. It's about saying something to the other person about how you feel about them right away. Like, I'm really enjoying this date. Like, I'm really enjoying our connection. Most of us don't share how we feel because we're afraid. We're afraid that the person may not reciprocate. So we get very shut down. Let me know if that's true for you. And we need to ask more open-ended questions. We need to be patient. We need to give men the space to express themselves in their own way. Did you ever notice that when you watch like a reality show like The Bachelor, women are often talking to the man and they're going, uh-huh, yeah, uh-huh. That's actually disrupting the thought process of a man. Like just listening quietly will help a man open up even more. That's kind of a super tip that I learned later on in my life. And so you want to co-create a space where both of you feel safe to be vulnerable, and you'll be able to see how a man really feels about you. Picture this, you're on a date, and instead of holding back, you decide to share a personal story or talk about what you're really looking for in a relationship. Your openness encourages your date to do the same, and suddenly you're having a deeper, more meaningful conversation, and you feel closer. That is the power of vulnerability. Yes, so stay in the present moment, Valley, and listen quietly. Absolutely. It's the uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. Like if you listen, it just really is disruptive when people just keep saying uh-huh, uh-huh, even though it is a natural thing for us to do. All right, myth number 4, here we go. Men are intimidated by successful women. Have you ever thought that? Let me know in the chat. This is a really common belief that men are intimidated by women who are successful. As a result, many women downplay their achievements or they hold back in their careers. Lynette says, yes. The truth is, most men are not intimidated by success. They're actually inspired by it. So here's the problem. The research actually says, according to a survey by Match.com, 87% of single men said they would consider dating somebody with a successful career. 87%, that's a large number, even if she earns more than he does. And 44% think it's very important that the woman they date has a successful career. The men who are intimidated by successful women often have their own insecurities, but that doesn't mean you should dim your light to make them feel better. Those are not the right people for you if you're successful and they get intimidated by you and your success. That's not the right fit for you. Here's why success is not a barrier. Your success is a testament to your drive, your intelligence, and your passion, qualities that are really attractive. The right man is going to see your success as a bonus, not a barrier. He's going to be proud to stand beside you. He will want to support your ambitions and celebrate your achievements. The one caveat that I want to say is that women who are very successful often focus very much on their achievements and not their heart. And so it's important to balance the two. It's not that your achievements are not important. It's that your heart is equally important, the nice things you do for people. Your success is your superpower. Imagine being in a relationship where your partner's your biggest cheerleader. He's there to support you, to celebrate your wins, and encourage you to keep pushing forward. That's what's possible when you stop believing the myth that your success is intimidating and you start owning it as your superpower. And Valley says they are intimidated by women behaving in their masculine, bossy, controlling, dominating. They don't want to date another man. Exactly. It's the bossiness. And that's what's been proven in research. It's not about your success. It's about your bossiness. It's about just focusing on your career as the only thing, or getting into right or wrong thinking and arguing, maybe stuff that you might be doing in work. You've got to turn off the work persona, but don't downplay what you do. Here's another amazing success story. This is Mimi. Mimi came to me in her late 50s. She was devastated that she had never married. She had really just struggled in relationships. And a lot of it was because she had achieved such high work success and she did not know how to be in a relationship. And through the work we did together, she met this incredible guy, very good looking, very nice. She is so happy to finally be getting married. This is them in Paris, I think, where they got engaged. She's just a lovely, lovely person who has such a big heart. And all men ever focused on was her work, because that's what she would talk about. Or she would dumb herself down and hide her successes. So this is a man who accepted all of her. And by the way, she almost didn't date him because she made up a story about him and who he must be, because he had been divorced and he was someone who people in her community knew. There were rumors around that he might have been cheating on his wife. They were not true. And she almost didn't date him because she thought he was not going to be the right person for her. So, we can miss so many chances of meeting amazing people, but she's another incredible success story of a woman who's highly successful, who finally found success at love. I love this story of Mimi. Myth number 5, women should not ask men out. This is another outdated myth that needs to go. The idea that men love to chase, and if a woman asks a man out, he's going to lose interest. Let me know in the comments, yes or no. Have you ever believed that men have to chase you, that you can't make the first move? And, this is so common. I see it so often. Women come to me with these questions, oh, but I want a man to chase me. And there's confusion around this. So this belief is rooted in old gender roles that no longer apply. In today's world, relationships are built on mutual interest and respect, and not outdated notions of who should make the first move. For a lot of women, we believe that men will be more interested in us. They will show that they're interested. And I'm not saying we should take all make all the first moves. It's not that we then ask men out each time and we pay for meals and we never get a man to do anything. We're talking about equality. There's a problem with just waiting for men to do all the work. So here's the problem. If you're waiting for a man to ask you out, and even for a man to send first messages on online dating sites, you could wait forever. You might be missing out on great opportunities. Men today are perfectly comfortable with women making the first move. In fact, here's another data point. 90% of men surveyed by Match.com said they're completely fine with being asked out by a woman. So why wait? If you are interested in someone, go ahead and ask him out. Taking the initiative doesn't make you less feminine or less desirable. It shows confidence and interest. And let's be honest, men appreciate it when women make the first move. It takes the pressure off and shows that you're serious about getting to know them. That's all you're saying is, I am interested in getting to know you. So imagine the empowerment you feel. You've been eyeing somebody for a while, like in real life, maybe somebody at the gym, a really cute guy. And instead of waiting for him to make the first move, maybe he's shy. You decide to say, hey, would you like to get coffee sometime? I'd love to get to know you better. You seem really interesting. That's not saying I love you. That's not saying I want to marry you. It's saying I want to take the initiative. And he's like, wow, I've been wanting to ask this woman out for a while, but I didn't have the nerve to do it. So you've just opened the door to a potential great relationship because you were brave enough to take the lead. Let me know if that is something that you would do. Yes or no, right in the comments. It takes courage, but it doesn't show men that they can just take a back seat and do nothing. I think that's the problem. Myth number 6, we're almost at the end of the myths. Let's talk about the myth that opposites attract. While it's true that differences can add excitement to a relationship, it's our similarities that create strong, lasting bonds. When you focus too much on finding somebody who is your opposite, and many people are attracted to people who are completely different, you might miss out on the deep connection that comes from shared values, interests, and life goals. Here's the problem. Opposites may attract initially, but over time, those differences can also create a lot of friction, in this funny picture. But, when you're with someone who shares your values and your interests, you're more likely to build a strong, lasting relationship. It's one of the reasons why people generally date people who are of the same religion, the same race. We feel a sense of familiarity, or maybe it's somebody who your friend knows, so there's a sense of connection. They know you better. It's not about finding somebody who's exactly like you. That would be boring. That would be like dating your clone. That would actually not work either. But it's about somebody who complements you in the ways that matter most. Of course, if you're an introvert and that person's an extrovert, you can make it work, but it does take some practice. You want to find somebody who understands you, who has a similar personality. That is what really helps. So the solution is to find balance. While a little difference can be exciting, it's the similarities that are going to sustain your relationship in the long run. Look for somebody who shares your core values, somebody who enjoys similar activities, and who's on the same page about the big things in life, the worldview things. That's where real compatibility lies. And like Valley says, values, vision, and some interests. Imagine your ideal relationship. Think about it. Who would be your dream relationship? What does it look like? Chances are it's with somebody who shares your passions, who's excited about the same kinds of volunteer activities, somebody who understands your goals. Maybe like if you're close to retirement age, they have similar vision for what retirement looks like. Maybe this person also loves to learn all the time, just like you. This person supports your dreams and you support theirs. That's what's possible when you focus on compatibility over opposites. Here's Maureen. Maureen spent 4 years going on first dates, having really short romances, but never finding a lasting relationship. She actually called me crying right before Christmas. She was at her wit's end. Why can't I get past these first dates and these really short romances? And the problem was she was dating the wrong people. I mean, we had other issues as well, but that was the main thing. And she met a man who was not her typical type. He was everything she needed, but never knew she wanted. And that's generally what happens in love. We find love in a surprise package, in a package that we wouldn't expect. And so this person who was perfect for her was a person who had such a big heart. And that was the similarity that she really needed. She posted some pictures in our Facebook group of him going to see his mother in her retirement home. He volunteers there all the time, and it just makes her heart melt. And so he calls their love story quantum entanglement, which is such a great word. Here's another person who just couldn't find the right person, but she worked through a lot of her limiting beliefs and found the right guy. As you can see, if you break the myths, you can find true love. And it's not just actually about breaking these myths. Obviously, there's some deeper inner work. And if finding lasting love is one of your goals, it's time to break some of these old patterns and old beliefs and take some inspired actions. The myths that we talked about today might have been holding you back, but now you have some knowledge how to overcome them. What was one of the most useful things you learned today so far? I would love to see you post in the chat something that you learned today that was useful that you can apply to your love life today. First dates don't need to spark, Valley says. First dates don't need to spark. Yes. Yeah, I think that's something that holds people back. Date with intention, quality over quantity. Thank you, Carol. I thought it did take men longer to fall in love, says Kelly. If you've been struggling in your dating life or you keep attracting the wrong people, I have something special to talk about. May I have permission to talk more about where you can learn more and go deeper? Yes or no? Just let me know in the comments. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. All right. So if you want to learn my unique step-by-step method for achieving epic love, as you probably know, I work privately with women, usually for 6 months, and we go really deep. We work on wounds, we work on attachment style, we work on your operating manual, how you operate best. We work on understanding men, communicating with men, how to have these deeper conversations that we talked about today and be vulnerable. We work on debriefing every single date and going online with a new profile and doing all the deeper work that has led so many of the people I work with to find lasting love. And the beauty is that these women, have invested time, money for 6 months. But I realize that there are plenty of people who would like to work for a shorter period of time and work in a group and do the same work week after week, but work in a small, intimate group. And that's why I created the Love Mastery program. The last time I taught this was 5 years ago, and you may have noticed I've been talking about this for quite a while now. And that's because this is the final week that you can register. It is a personalized, small, intimate group. We have a maximum of 4 to 8 women, and I still have a few spots left. So I just wanted to talk about it for a few minutes if this speaks to you. It's a combination of group and private coaching. There are proven strategies that I've used to help other women fall in love. There are weekly handouts and homework and community support between our lessons and lifetime access, just to name a few things. I work with you to help you find clarity, to, help you finally figure out what is getting in the way of finding love. And here's why it works. It's not just another dating program. It's about transforming the way you approach love and relationships. Don't take it just from me. This is Deirdre.
Right from the start, I realized that this was a lot deeper than just dating coaching. So Sandy is not just a dating coach. She took a lot of time learning who I am and how I operate, what my patterns are and what my vulnerabilities are. It's much more focused than therapy. And she's a lot more directive, which is good and which I need it. She makes a lot of direct observations, which I had never had in therapy very much. Therapists tend to kind of let you try to figure it out. Sandy is much more, gives me great ideas of things to try and makes observations that have been very intuitive. I've been really pleased with what I've learned. And, one of the things that she identified right away is that I had boundary issues. And I really didn't understand how I was doing that when I was dating, but I was, just kind of going along with the flow and what the guy wanted. And he set the pace. And I really didn't ever set my own pace. I didn't ever kind of say, this is what I would like. And so she helped me identify that I've been doing that all my life. So of course I was bringing that to my dating. And that was really helpful. And also that I had kind of unhealed wounds from my dad not being around when I was younger and how that was showing up in my relationships. So I had all that in place before we ever created a profile for me. I felt a lot more grounded and a lot more confident about doing that because I kind of had an idea of how I was going to approach it differently. So I had a pretty good understanding of what I had done in the past that did not work for me. So I look forward to our calls every week a lot because I can get, doing it on your own. When I did it on my own, I would kind of have a lot of negative reactions during the week and things that guys did. And Sandy has just supported me so well and encouraged me and, really kind of brought me back to myself so that I usually hang up feeling much more hopeful and encouraged about going back out there. I've had several friends, that I talk to about all this online dating, and I have a couple that do it with me. And I've even had them tell me that, that I seem very different this time, that I seem a lot less anxious, that my whole approach is a lot more positive. And that's, I think, because I have Sandy's support. That's what I have to share.
Let's go to some other graduates. Deborah in New York said, I attract men in a way I never have before. Ella married the greatest guy. And Maureen in Washington said, I'm sharing the real me with the world. And so if this feels like a good fit for you, enrollment is happening now, Love Mastery. And I told you there would be a special offer. This coupon expired August 14th, and I just extended it until August 31st. It's save $100 by posting in the checkout LM100. And that is it. And now I'm going to open up to Q&A.
Tell me a little bit more about your group counseling. Why is that successful?
Because I take them through the same program I take my private clients. They get week after week, there's a specific program that we follow. And the first part is all about yourself. We don't even get into the dating for the first couple of weeks because we're working on any patterns, any limiting beliefs, our childhood wounds, how we got to be who we are today, what our dating patterns have been in the past, because we all follow patterns. Like I have seen people who have followed a pattern of dating. One of the most popular things is dating people who are unavailable. If you have repeated this pattern over and over again, you're gonna keep repeating it unless you break that pattern. And so I show people how. It's really important to learn the skills to have patience, to process your emotions, all of those things. So I do that in my group coaching as well as in my private coaching. And then we get online and date together. So we go on somebody's online dating profile and we'll search for men together. We will message together so they learn how to do it in a way that works.
You mentioned that you also do a little private coaching in that same program.
Right. So the VIP program includes private classes. So I think there's one a month. 45-minute sessions, which are valued at $500 each. So it's a huge value Any other questions?
One quick question.
Yeah.
You had mentioned one of the myths, quality over quantity. Because I was, before, I haven't dated now for like 3 months because I was taking a little break because I was definitely burnt out and just disappointed in, some of my relationships. So I'm going to go back to the dating app, but it's been 3 months. It's not that I'm scared to go back. I'm just kind of like, oh, but I'm trying, but I'm probably not trying that hard to meet someone organically, but it's not really happening. I don't really like to drink, so I don't want to meet someone at a bar. I like to hike, but I don't have a lot of time to do a meetup group. So part of that question is, are the apps the best way? And then do you just kind of filter through and say, okay, I'm going to pick 2 now and then, or 1, date 1 person. If it doesn't work out, go to the next. Or do you try to meet organically? What are some other ideas?
All of the above. And I believe in a many-pronged approach to dating. I don't believe you should be only online or only trying to meet people organically. It's one of the things I teach. One of the weeks that we're doing in the group coaching is about how to meet men in real life. We spend several weeks on online dating, but also offline dating. And so it's not a simple, here's how to meet men offline. It's really about the social skills. It's about how you connect with the men you're meeting offline. So let's say you go to a farmer's market and you want to meet people who like farmers markets because that's something you're into. So you go over to a guy who's buying tomatoes and you say, hey, those look really good. Can you show me how to choose a good tomato? Like you start a conversation and then you can then segue into, what are you planning to make with that tomato? Oh, my favorite recipe is, oh, I'm making that this weekend. What are you up to this weekend? And then you're getting into a conversation that's more about dating. And then you'll find out, is this guy single or not? And if he is single, you could say, hey, I'm having a few people over. Would you like to join us for chili? It's just, we often miss incredible opportunities because we don't have the courage or the words to make the small talk that will lead to a romantic connection. So it's really going about to try new things, get out there, meet men where you would like to meet men, men who are doing things similar to you. Belonging to certain meetups. I go to certain groups that are all about self-growth. That's where I like to meet people because they all have the same vision and goals that I have. And even if you don't meet people that you're going to date, maybe they know people. And so it's about people who know people. It's also knowing how to ask for a setup in a way that works. And that's a whole other skill set that I teach. In terms of online dating, for people who are anxiously attached, I believe you should date more than one person at a time. For people who are more avoidant, I believe you should focus on one at a time because you're more likely to just bail after every bad date. Like Kara would be considered an avoidant. She did not want to date anybody more than once. And you had to like hammer her on the head for her to keep dating CJ. These amazing relationships that would never happen because people are dating in a way that doesn't work, and they're self-sabotaging constantly. And so the other thing is that this work is not just about dating. Deirdre, she was talking about how it changed her entire life because she wasn't setting boundaries at work. She wasn't setting boundaries with her son. She wasn't setting boundaries on dates. She was letting men take the lead and do everything. And so she was very disempowered in her life. And as she started to learn these skills, these communication and boundary skills, it influenced every single aspect of her life. And so it's life-changing. It truly is. And it makes dating more pleasant. You don't give up because you had some bad dates. You realize it's not necessarily about you, but maybe you can learn from each date and apply it to the next one. That was a long answer to your question.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Carol. Good luck out there when you get back out.
I have a question
Hi.
about the number of dates. You were saying quality over quantity, but maybe sometimes it is important to, I'm not trying to argue, it's just another viewpoint. Because I think if you go with just a couple, one or two, then you tend to focus on that, even when it's not good for you. You try to make those work out instead of just saying next, next one in line, or, go on to
Right.
the next and something better for you.
Right. So I touched on that a little bit. There are people
Mhm.
who take too long with the wrong person. And I believe you have to be the right kind of picky. And the way that we do that is by really narrowing down what our true must-haves and deal breakers are. I've talked about that on
Mhm.
other webinars. This is one of the classes that I teach in my private and group coaching is what is your list? And like Valley says, trying to turn crumbs into cake. We often will do that. We'll take the wrong person and we'll hope that, because he's a nice person, we hope that attraction will grow, but it's at a zero, or it's like we can't ever imagine kissing this person. So don't keep dating them. But
Mhm.
like with Kara, he was a great person. He was like lovely. And she just was dismissing everyone because she didn't feel bowled over. But for her, the sparks were really dangerous. They were like the highs and lows, the kinds of ways that she was with her ex-husband. They were constantly arguing. He would walk out on her in the middle of an argument. And so with CJ, they had to learn how to be in conflict together. That was a big part of our coaching. Was CJ just never wanted to argue with her, so he'd walk out. And she would say, but if you walk out, I feel abandoned. And so now, how do we negotiate our differences? How do we do the conflict better? And so he would stay, or he'd say, I need an hour. It's all about how we communicate.
It's nice to meet you. I follow you all the time on your program. I really, really enjoy what you have to say.
Thank you.
I've been in a program for about 2 years, and I certainly have completely changed and had lots of breakthroughs, lots of successes with family, etc. So I stopped pursuing. I'm now not attracting anybody. Anybody at all. I can't even begin to practice how to behave on a date because I'm not attracting anyone at all. But just we're wondering what you think about that.
Well, tell me more. Why are you not attracting anyone?
Well, I'm not online, but I swear I'm going to pretty soon. Try that. I don't know. I'm extremely active in the community, volunteer, and I go to farmers markets, grocery store, etc. I'm friendly. I'm not. I'm independent, but I'm not dominant and controlling or anything like that. And I'm really nice. And if I hear one more time my friends say, I can't believe you're not in a relationship. You're so nice. Etc. So what more can I tell you?
So first of all, you're not online. So you've completely lost that whole avenue for now until you get online. You're
Right.
really just relying on in-person meetings. You're friendly, which is lovely, but are you romantically friendly? The conversation that I shared with Carol at the farmer's market is not just, hi, nice shoes. It's really segueing into a conversation that could lead to a date.
And so I've been told that that's too flirty.
Okay, well, you're not, if you're not flirting, you're not making connections. So I don't know who's telling you that, but I don't agree with that.
Probably
I
other
think-
single women.
Yes. People are afraid. It's vulnerable to flirt.
Mhm.
It's vulnerable to put yourself out there, but you miss all the chances you don't take. And there are a lot of amazingly friendly people who are single because they don't make romantic connections. We stay in the friend zone. We stay in the, oh, that's a nice person, right? And your friends all say, oh, You're amazing. I would love to fix you up. I just don't know anybody. And people have met in the most interesting ways, right? I belong to Toastmasters. We have a couple who met there and married and has a baby. Um, the most different people in the world. He's from India, she's from China. She had been dating online. He was brought up never dating because that's their culture. And they actually both hired me to work with them privately. And I took him on a mock date. It was really, he really had zero dating experiences. He had no game at all. So he didn't know how to dance, and he would love to dance, but he didn't know how, and he would be really awkward. And she was definitely more dominant than he was. And they're a fantastic couple. They both ended up quitting their jobs, these successful engineers, and now they're both coaches. And I mean, it's an amazing story. But they met because they shared a love for personal growth, for just growing as a person. And so they started a conversation that turned into a date. And that's the difference between them and most people.
That's I really appreciate it. It's very insightful. Yeah, that I'm friendly, but they have no clue that I'm trying to connect because I don't give them a clue.
Yeah. I mean, I pass tons of people on my walks every day, or I go to the gym and I meet people. And if I don't open my mouth, I don't meet anybody, right? There are so many people who've said to me, I go to the gym and you know how many people have started a conversation with me? Zero. And I'm like, well, how often are you starting a conversation, right? We think people should find us and they should talk to us. But like, if there's a cute guy at the gym, are you talking to him? Are you going to ask him how to use the equipment? It's such an easy ask. Now, he might be married, but he also might have friends. One of my clients met a guy through a friend. She joined a meetup for hiking, and she met a lot of wonderful women. And one of the women invited her for Thanksgiving dinner, and she sat next to the man who became her husband. He was not part of the hiking group, right? So people who know people who know people. Right? We have to think more broadly about dating, about meeting people, and about the conversations that we're having, because most of us were never trained to flirt. We don't know how to do any of these things, and they're a skill set. So when I work with people, I train them. I train them how to have these conversations. I train them to think outside the box. And, it's life-changing, really.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
You're welcome. Good luck. Get out there and flirt. Don't let your friends become your dating coaches.
Right.
That is one of my best pieces of advice.
Your single friends.
Yes, your single friends, even your married friends, because they don't know. Even your therapist. I had a client who hired me, and I wasn't meeting with her that week. So she asked her therapist for dating advice, and he gave her terrible dating advice. And she ended up making an expensive mistake. She signed up for a dating site that she should never have signed up for. And I said to her, please leave your therapist for therapy, leave your dating coach for dating. And she never asked her therapist for dating advice again. He is not trained to be a dating coach. And I am not trained to be a therapist. So we have to stay in our lanes, but, go to the experts to get the advice that you're looking for. Don't go to your friends, your parents, siblings. They want you to find love, but they have no idea what would really work for you. Well, thank you, ladies. I hope a few of you join the group. It's closing soon. And if you have any more questions, just email me. I'm happy to answer. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.